Please don't forget, like, share, subscribe and hit the bell. Thanks for watching. Come on, you Irons. Hi guys, hope you're all well. This is just a quick little post-match. It's not normally what we do, obviously. Duke and I will come on and bat things around, this, that and the other. But Duke's starting a new job today and I'm still on my holiday. So this is the best that we could manage, I'm afraid. So apologies for that, but it is what it is. So obviously, yesterday was the match at Vicarage Road in the Premier League against Claudio Ranieri's Watford. Two teams that were going into this match in pretty poor form, it has to be said. As far as we were concerned, we'd won in our last 7, and quite a number of players are just bang out of form. And to compound it, we went in this match on the back of a 3-2 reverse at London Stadium on Boxing Day to Southampton, and during the course of which Declan Rice picked up a booking which meant he had to serve a 1-match suspension for this match, which prompted the inclusion to the starting 11 of Mark Noble. And I think probably a lot of people were a little bit concerned because obviously Mark Noble's been a fantastic servant to the club, but I think it's fairly safe to say that he's on the home straight now as far as his footballing career is concerned. This was actually his first Premier League start of the season. He's been used coming off of the bench, and the starts that he's made have been in Europa League and in the League Cup. This was the first time he'd actually been used in the league from minute 1. So it was one of those where I did have a little bit of apprehension. I don't want to say fear, but certainly there was a level of concern there that I had, not specifically about Mark Noble on his own, but just like I say, that aligned with the form that we had going into this. Confidence, I'm sure, would have been dented by this particular run we've been on. Part of it, yes, has been due to injuries, but all teams get injuries. But we've been shorn of 3/4 of our first choice back 4. So we've suffered quite drastically with that. The one thing I was actually pleased to see when the teams were announced about an hour before kickoff was that Arthur Masuaku wasn't included, and I don't mean to be unkind, and I'm sure he's a really nice guy, but just his performances of defensively have not been up to the level that we need, and so Ben Johnson coming in at left back was quite pleasing for me. Saeed Benrahma also started on the left with Manuel Lanzini in the number 10 position. The rest of the team was pretty much what you'd expect, and Michail Antonio obviously started as well up top. And 4 minutes into the match, I'm just sort of like sitting down having a cup of tea, sort of chilling out, listening to the football, and boom, 4 minutes in, Emmanuel Dennis scores, and it was a pretty poor goal that we conceded from where I was sort of viewing things, and Craig Dawson went to ground quite early and made Emmanuel Dennis's job that much easier. It was a decent finish from the player, to be fair, and he's been one of the few shining lights in a pretty disappointing season for Watford thus far. 1-0 up, and I got to be honest, at that point I was like, oh no, not again, please. And I'd said it before the ball had been kicked. It wasn't about the performance, it was about the result. Against Watford, it didn't really matter. We had to find a way to dig in and conjure a result, and it didn't matter how it came. So going 1-0 down after 4 minutes wasn't really in the script. Quite disappointing. But from that point on, I don't really think that Watford did too much from that point on. I think we started to gain a level of control in the match, and Thomas Souček comes up with the equaliser. Looking at the performance of Thomas Souček in the entire 90 minutes, I think that he possibly, in a funny sort of way, maybe he was helped by the inclusion of Mark Noble, because I think from what I saw, it allowed him maybe a little bit more of a licence to sort of make those late forays forwards and be a bit of a nuisance in the opposition final third than possibly he's been allowed to with Declan Rice alongside him. That was just how it seemed to me. I've got no idea whether this was by design or not. I don't know. But he was played in by Jared Bowen, who had an unbelievable game, I got to say. I thought Jared Bowen was absolutely superb, and 2 assists, and I don't know whether the penalty, whether he gets an assist for that is as far as the records are concerned, because obviously it was him that was fouled for that, but 2 assists and winning the penalty. He didn't score, but he did virtually everything else. He was the man of the match by a country mile, but he plays Thomas Souček in, he lashes the ball in at Daniel Bachmann's near post, who didn't really move for the equaliser. And then a few minutes later, Michail Antonio sort of gets to the byline, cuts it back. Saeed Benrahma makes it 2-1. And we get to half-time, and to be honest with you, I thought we were very good value for it. I think we deserved to be in front at that particular point in time. And the second half started off in much the same way. I thought we looked good. I appreciate, though, however, that you have to factor in that we're playing a team that confidence-wise were probably on a similar level to us, and it was just a question of which team possibly wanted it more, which team had the greater quality. I don't think that that's in dispute. I mean, I think it's fair to say that we're the team that should have the greater quality. But it's just whether we could have found that sort of will to win, that little bit extra that you need sometimes. And as I say, 2-1 up at half-time, we managed to get it. And the third goal came about. It was a ball that was played across the penalty box, and I think it was Kuka, if I remember correctly, goes to chest the ball back across the penalty box towards Daniel Bachmann, and I think that he was a little bit slow to react to it, and it allowed Jared Bowen to get in and just sort of like get his body between the goalkeeper and the ball, and the goalkeeper ends up bringing Jared Bowen down. The ball goes out of play, and initially the referee obviously gives the corner, and I'm jumping up. I'm going, that is a penalty all day long. I mean, he's got nowhere near the ball. He's clattered into Jared Bowen, who was sort of had to make a play for the ball. He was perfectly entitled to. He's in the penalty box. Anywhere else on the pitch, I'm going, that's a penalty. But the on-field official gave a corner kick. I suppose trying to be generous about it, I don't like to slag off referees willy-nilly. I appreciate that they have a tremendously difficult job to do. I've done refereeing myself, and I know that sometimes things happen really quickly. Maybe sometimes where you're stood, you've got people in the way and your field of vision's a little bit obscured and all the rest of it. And obviously I'm watching it on the telly, I'm watching it, I can see various different replays from different angles. It's slowed down, it's magnified, you can zoom in. Whereas the referee's got one look and he's got to make a judgment call. He obviously made the wrong call and gave the corner kick. Everybody was surrounding him though and saying, you got to look at this. And obviously the VAR has looked at it and decided, I'm not too sure that that's the right call. And he's obviously told the on-field official that you might want to go across to the monitor and have a look, because I think that this is a penalty. So obviously the on-field officials had a trot over to the touchside monitor, had a look. It didn't take too long. I think it was a couple of, sort of 30 seconds or so. It wasn't sort of long drawn out process. He's had a look, he's seen it from a couple of angles and decided, yeah, that's not a corner, that's a penalty. Mark Noble obviously stepped up, and the last time obviously he took a penalty in the Premier League was the match against Manchester United at London Stadium earlier this season, which he actually came onto the pitch specifically to take the penalty. Obviously, David De Gea saved it. Whether it was the right move or not, obviously, hindsight being perfect vision, people said it wasn't. And I suppose that's borne out by the fact that he had the penalty saved. But I think that if David Moyes, in fairness, hadn't have brought on Mark Noble, who was obviously sitting on the bench and has such a brilliant penalty record, and someone else had taken it and they'd had not scored the penalty, then people would have been saying, why didn't you bring Mark Noble on? So sometimes you can't win. Obviously he scored in the penalty shootout victory against Manchester City in the League Cup back in October, but I'm talking in an actual during match situation, excluding penalty shootouts, that his last penalty that he took for West Ham was didn't quite go according to plan, and he steps up and he's seen the goalkeeper commit. The goalkeeper's gone to his left, so he's just rolled it in to the goalkeeper's right to make it 3-1. He scored in, I think it's 16 out of the last 18 Premier League seasons, so that's still a pretty good achievement in all honesty. And once we got 3-1 up, I couldn't really see that there was any way that Watford would manage to sort of like claw that deficit back. I would probably say that they did start to improve a little bit, but it wasn't ever an amount that you looked at and thought, oh, this could be the beginning of a really good comeback here. And in the dying embers of the match, Jared Bowen, as I say, was on absolute flames. He really was. He gets to the byline and he cuts it back. And I liked the movement of Nikola Vlasic, because he's sort of like, he's obviously you can see that he's got his markers pretty close proximity as Jared Bowen's playing the ball in, and he's just sort of like dropped out a sort of couple of yards to sort of find himself a little bit of space. In fact, he's found himself quite a bit of space, because as Jared Bowen's played the ball into him, it was a pretty simple finish. All he's got to do is make a good connection, get it on target. No one's anywhere near him. The goalkeeper's out of the equation, and he makes it 4-1 for what was his first goal in claret and blue. And to be honest with you, I think, to be brutally honest, I was quite surprised that he was pulled off against Southampton 2 days earlier, and I think a lot of people were. So I'm hoping that can be the catalyst for him to go on to bigger and better things for West Ham. I think that the signs are there that he's starting to get a little bit of a grip on things. He's starting to understand what is required of him in terms of the team structure is concerned, and him basically getting aligned to Premier League football. I know he's played in the Premier League before for Everton, but that was obviously some time ago, and things tend to change in the intervening period. But 4-1 up, and that was the game done. And we finish the year of 2021 with an interesting little thing, and this was brought to me by regular channel contributor Mark Brown, and so he's done the research on this. This is not me, so I've got to give Mark due credit for this one. But if you compare side by side the years 1986 and 2021, we've actually got a better record in this calendar year. I think, if I remember correctly, I think we would have got 70 points in 1986, the calendar year, and compared to 2021, where I think we finished with 73, if I remember correctly. I might have got the figures slightly wrong, but this calendar year is a superior in terms of matches than that year, as far as the league football is concerned. We've had a good year. I mean, obviously the last 8 matches or so have been a little bit iffy. As I say, we have to take injuries into account when we're assessing that. But I have to say that it was the year 2021 has been for West Ham United an excellent year. I think it's been really good. And one other thing also to mention about the win yesterday was that in getting that victory, David Moyes goes to third on the all-time list of winning victories for Premier League managers. With that win yesterday, he was level up to that point with Harry Redknapp, formerly of West Ham and various other clubs. With that victory, he now goes third outright on his own. The only two managers that have more wins in the Premier League than David Moyes are Arsene Wenger in second place and Sir Alex Ferguson in first. And again, that's a massive feather in his cap to turn around and say that no one has won more Premier League matches than him, with the exception of those two, is quite a fitting tribute. I think quite an achievement for David Moyes. Obviously, we've got the match against Crystal Palace at Selhurst Park on New Year's Day, and again, it'll be no. The good work at Vicarage Road would be undone if we go to Selhurst Park on New Year's Day and at least don't get a point. I mean, to be honest with you, I think we should be, if we have aspirations of finishing at least in the top six and possibly with the wind at our backs, a bit of luck, maybe just scraping into the top four, who knows, then a game away at Crystal Palace is a game that we should, with all due respect to Crystal Palace, and they won't make it easy for us. I mean, you know, they've had a good season this season, and especially when they've got the home crowd behind them at the Holmesdale Road end, they will be spurred on. But I think that this is a game that, with all due respect to Crystal Palace, Patrick Vieira and his team, this is a game that if we've got those aspirations, we need to be getting, worst ways, a point, but really we need to try and aim for those 3 points. And hopefully we can start the year 2022 the same way that we finished the year 2021, with a victory. And who knows where we go from here. It's not for me to say. I mean, I think that this could be a fantastic season if we can possibly get a few players back. I mean, I'm hearing that Kurt Zuma could be back in the squad for a February time, and obviously we know that Ogbonna's out for the season, so we have to we've just got to get on with that one. As far as Aaron Cresswell's concerned, that's a bit of a concern to me, because obviously he got the injury up at the Etihad when he smacked into the post, making a sort of last-ditch clearance. And we all thought that he would be back by now, and he hasn't. And obviously the prognosis is that he's chipped a bone in his back and this, that and the other. Obviously he's key to a lot of our set-piece deliveries, a lot of the goals that we've scored over the last year, 18 months. We've been through set pieces, and he's a big part of that. So to have him out for any period of time, I know that we've got Jared Bowen that can play the balls in, we've got Manuel Lanzini, we've got Pablo Fornals, but Cresswell's delivery at set pieces is just a notch above. Do you know what I mean? So I would like to see him back, obviously, sooner rather than later, but I'm getting a little bit concerned that he might be out for a more prolonged period of time than maybe we initially feared. And that being the case, it may well be that we perhaps have to get a left back as well as a centre back, maybe. And does that then mean that maybe our pursuit of a striker might be slightly derailed because of maybe the finances simply aren't there to strengthen in the way that maybe we would like. I don't know. I'm hopeful that obviously with Daniel Kretinsky coming in, that will allow maybe a little bit more firepower to be added to the transfer kitty when the transfer window opens in a few days' time. And I really hope that we get the business done as early as possible, or at least the bulk of it. If we make a sort of deadline day signing, but we've made 2, 3, 4 signings before that, then I'd be fine with that. But if we're getting like in the summer, we were sort of going deeper and deeper into the transfer window and starting to get a little bit panicky about that. Are we going to make this signing? Are we going to make that signing? And fair enough, we made signings. Although I do still wonder in a way, and this is not me trying to be detrimental to the player himself, but Alex Crowell has barely got a kick, certainly in the league anyway. And we need to see whether he's good enough or not. Although, having said that, don't forget that this was exactly the same situation that we had with Craig Dawson 12 months earlier. We got him in on loan from Watford, the team we've just played. And for the first half of the season, I don't think he kicked a ball at all in any game, in any competition, if memory serves me. And then we played, and I think it was against Southampton. I think he got his debut, if I remember correctly. And he basically stayed in the team from that point onwards. So I guess it's just a question of getting the opportunity, which Alex Crowell hasn't had up to this point. I did wonder whether he was going to start yesterday, but obviously Mark Noble got the nod. And as I say, he had a decent enough game, obviously scored the third goal, which effectively ended all chances of Watford making any sort of comeback. But listen, we'll go into this transfer window. Hopefully we'll get the business done that we need to. As I say, I think that a centre-back, possibly a left-back, and a striker are the 3 positions that we need to strengthen as a priority to really try and kickstart again our pursuit of those top 6 and maybe even top 4 positions in the Premier League. I don't know about you, but I've enjoyed having European football this season, and I'd love to have it 2 seasons on the bounce. It would, it would give us some sort of vindication of the football that David Moyes, of the style of football that he's trying to play and what he's trying to achieve. It would really be something quite special. I mean, I've been a fan of West Ham for many, many years, and I can't remember, in fact, I don't believe in my lifetime that we've had 2 consecutive seasons in Europe. We obviously did in 1964-65 season, and then in 1965-66 is obviously we won the European Cup, Winners' Cup, and then went into the same competition the following season as the defending champions. But I think I'm right in saying that's the only time that West Ham have ever had in their history consecutive seasons. No, tell a lie. Because we did have... we did have obviously 2 seasons in the Europa League, didn't we? But we never got into the proper. We was in the qualifying stages. So I'm talking the proper stages of European competition. I mean, if you wanted to include that, then I suppose you could. When we had the 2 seasons where we got into the Europa League qualifying in, what was it, 2014, 2015, or 2015, 2016, whatever it was. But there's not too many times that we do it, is there? There's not too many times that we as West Ham fans have had consecutive seasons in Europe. So for us to get European football next season would be, dare I use the term massive? It seems that if West Ham fans use the term massive, there's people that jump up and down and say you're not massive and all the rest of it. And I don't think they quite understand what we're trying to articulate. It's a little bit of tongue in cheek. It's a little bit of a twinkle in our eye when we use that terminology. But we are, in some respects, we are massive. So, and if people don't like that, then that's their problem, really. So, but anyway, that's my thoughts on the match yesterday, and obviously going on to transfer business and various other things. I'm sort of getting into this particular video for you guys. As I say, thank you very much indeed for your time. Please don't forget to drop a like on the stream, subscribe to the YouTube channel if you're new around here, and make sure you hit that bell icon to be notified of any new content as and when we upload it to the stream. And thank you very much indeed for your time, guys. Stay safe, enjoy the rest of your Christmas New Year period, and spend it with your family, have some good time, and we'll hopefully get the 3 points against Crystal Palace on New Year's Day at Selhurst Park. But that's all it from me, and I'm just going to finish off with my usual. Come on, you Irons.